Hello, Glasgow.
So, welcome to GDevCon number 4. I'm Chris Roebuck, Chief Technology Officer at Konrad. We were hoping to have Michael join us this week. He was keen to be here to show his support for this fabulous event, but unfortunately he had to change his plans at short notice, so he stuck with me. So when I prepared this, I set myself 4 rules. Try not to bore people for the next 10 minutes. Try not to sell them anything. Make sure you get some LabVIEW code in there. It's a graphical programming conference after all. Make sure there are no subliminal messages, no hidden agendas in anything that you present, and keep the agenda nice and simple. So, everybody's got their own story about how we discovered LabVIEW, about how we discovered the LabVIEW community. So I'd like to share a few of ours. Ours started 30 years ago with Michael Konrad attending a trade show in Germany. And as he was wandering around the trade show, he stumbled across a demo. And the demo really caught his eye. Little did he know that the demo was running LabVIEW software. The NI representative exchanged some questions with Michael. Michael asked a few back. But the NI representative asked the most important question. Would you like to be an alliance partner? Michael said, yeah, sure. Do I get a discount? Konrad is now represented by 300 engineers worldwide. We've got locations in the US, in the UK, in Central Europe, China and India. But it's still a family-owned business. Michael is still very much hands-on in the day-to-day running of the operation. We're now at 3,500 systems deployed worldwide, and our headquarters is still in southern Germany near Lake Constance. Revenues of around 60 million euros, and because of that, it was able to support the funding 2 years ago of a new facility in Radolfzell. So the site that you see there was built custom for ourselves to enable us to have the scale of production that we need. So there's our global locations. And the facility was built to enable us to have large manufacturing halls to work on the scale and the type of systems that we do work on. So there's an example of one of our production halls. Because what we do is we create automatic machinery for the production, assembly, and test of electronic components for aerospace, for automotive, and for consumer electronics. So we're not just functional test, we also get involved in the assembly, the alignment of components. Primarily that's driven by our automotive customers, and the products are typically ADAS related. So we do see ourselves as being a prime ADAS supplier for testing and manufacturing equipment, primarily ultrasonics, cameras, LiDAR, and radar. But it's not all work. Sometimes we get to play with fancy, expensive equipment as well. So if anybody's had problems ordering anything from NI, come and see me, because we've got quite a bit on the shelf right now. And I mentioned that global presence. So steadily over the last 5 years, 5 years since I joined the team, we've been growing that UK team. We're now currently at 15 people. There's a sample of our smiley engineers. You met Richard just a few seconds ago. We've got 2 UK Engineering Skills Foundation scholarship students that have joined us for 12 months. They're here. If you see them walking around in their Konrad shirts, give them a hello, talk to them, make them feel part of the community. That's why we brought them, to show them what an amazing community we've got. We collect badges in the UK, so we've got a couple of LabVIEW champions, some LabVIEW architects. I think it makes sense that we can prove our proficiency with the tools that we use. So we've got test and LabVIEW certifications. 100% of our engineering staff are at least undergraduate degree qualified. 50% of our engineers have a CLA. Variety of languages spoken as well. We have 2 offices in the UK now. So in the summer, we use our Scotland office in Dunfermline. And then when it turns colder, we migrate south for the winter and we camp out in our Bedford office. Look, you've all seen the weather here this weekend, right? You know why we do that. So what else do we do in the UK? We do consultation. We work with engineering customers on gathering requirements, helping them actually understand how they need to test their product, and then we build those test systems. That's an example of a test system that's been deployed into optometrists and ophthalmic surgeons around the UK, used for testing, analysing people's retinas. We're saving people from going blind, hopefully. We have some products in the UK, so our RF communications tester is a product that is owned by the UK team. We're responsible for the embedded software running on that device and also creating the LabVIEW API because we love LabVIEW. We do some training workshops as well, so we've got some software engineering process workshops around LabVIEW and TestStand, and my personal favourite one that's dear to my heart, a course that we're actually calling TestStand 3, because it tells you about things such as how to deploy a system successfully, things like TestStand environments, some of the newer features in TestStand, so that's one that's close to my heart. But we're all about community here, and I promise not to try and sell you anything. So why did Konrad get involved? Why did we see value? Well, I'm going to go back to the story that we started with originally. You know, Michael, he had a story about how he discovered LabVIEW. Same for myself. Mine started 23 years ago next week, actually. And it involved me, much younger, a little bit thinner, walking into Daresbury Laboratory, nuclear physics laboratory, and a guy called Ray Jones handing me a Hewlett-Packard impedance analyzer and two boxes. One was Borland C++ 4.5, one was LabVIEW 3.1. And he looked at me and he said, make one of those, do something with that. And then he left the room. So I picked up the Borland C++, and I played with that for 2 weeks. And at the end of 2 weeks, I'd created a dialog box and I'd managed to crash the instrument, and that was about it. And I thought, there's got to be a better way. So I installed the LabVIEW. 14 diskettes later, I had LabVIEW installed, and the rest is history. I automated everything that I could touch during the next 12 months. I had to play with a few other tools we had around the lab. We had something called HPV, really inappropriate name right now. We had something called Keithley Test Point, but I kept coming back to LabVIEW. It just resonated with the way my mind worked. During that time, and ever since really, I recognized the value of the community. They were there. They were a trusted source of information and support whenever I would encounter a problem. I mean, back then, the community for me was things like bulletin boards. Probably that resonates with like 3 people in the audience. Mailing lists, Info LabVIEW. Hands up anybody who remembers Info LabVIEW or even still subscribes to it. Okay, so there's a few people nearly as old as I am. And LabVIEW Technical Resource, what an amazing publication that was. I bet you've still, those of you who remember it, you've still got your copies at home. It's fantastic. Trusted resources. And just like we depend on that community for support, that community also depends on sponsors in order to keep it going, to fund events like this. And that's why it was a no-brainer for us, because we turn to the community at Konrad when we have questions and we need immediate support. So it was important to us. So that's why we got on board. You know, a final word really. I think National Instruments, whether they know it or not, whether they realise this, a little bit like Steve Jobs in 1984 when he created the Mac, they've managed to create a product to which the users of that product have formed an emotional attachment. We choose LabVIEW when we could easily choose a cheaper, easier to install alternative. So it's important that we grow that product, we support its proliferation, its adoption, and we make LabVIEW great again. So have a great GDevCon, everyone. Thank you.